Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of Finding Some Raw Cards to Grade here and make some money. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to welcome in Instagram as well. Sorry. Today we are going to talk about some hockey cards because you don't find very many people online talking about hockey cards, and there's money to be made on hockey. So we're going to talk some hockey cards to target, and then we're going to talk about some, I don't know if you're vintage, but early 80s sports cards that you can target as well, raw to grade. It's going to be a little bit different than normal. It's not your football, which everybody's pretty much buying football this time of year. I didn't figure it took me to tell you guys that this is a great time of year to buy football cards. If you've got questions as to which football cards, by all means, message me. I'll help you with that. Maybe I'll do the next video on football. The whole month of May is football buying season. If you're watching my Instagram, you are seeing that I am buying a lot of football. I'm buying mostly rookie ticket autos right now. But it's football buying season. Hey, good morning, Brad. Welcome in, Joel. Welcome in, Mason. So it's football buying season for football cards, but we're not going to talk about the obvious. You guys watch me because I can help you make money in ways other than the obvious, right? You don't look to me for my expertise or my experience for doing something that everybody knows what to do. So I'm going to give you some plays here today. Hopefully you enjoy them. I have 10 hockey cards, and then I've got some other bonus at the end here. A little bit more fun than going out and buying product that you can rip off the shelf. So let's get started here with the first one. First card in that we're going to talk about today is, and forgive me if I butcher some of these hockey names. I am not a hockey fan. I don't like hockey. I do like making money, so therefore I'm showing you some plays. I make money on hockey every year as the NHL playoffs are taking place. That is from now until the end of May is also a very good time to buy hockey along with football. And so buy them, get them graded. You'll get them back probably July, maybe August, right in time to start listing them and making some money. I like selling hockey in September. I like selling football in July and August. So plenty of time here with PSA's backlogs with these plays to make some money. So the first one up is Jack Eichel. These are pretty much, I believe all 10 of these are going to be Upper Deck Young Guns. The Young Guns seem to be the easiest cards to make money on in the hockey arena. It's kind of, I would consider it a little bit like the Prism Silvers of the other sports cards. Very, very desirable cards. One of the most desirable, not too super rare that you can't find them. All right, so let's get into it. So Jack, $16.31 is the most recent sale for Jack. There have been 15 sales, as you can see, in the last 30 days. The 30-day average is $23. So his cards are coming down a little bit right now, which is good timing. So target the card somewhere in that $15 to $20 range. PSA 9, $66 is currently. The 30-day average is $47. So even if you pay $22 or $3 for a raw and get it graded, and it does dip back down into that $47 to $50 range, you're still going to break even on a PSA 9. The PSA 10, $118. The 30-day average is $127. So the PSA 10s are starting to slide a little bit along with his raw cards. That is good. That's good for us. Don't worry about the little bit of a slide. By the time you get these back, they should be back on the upward swing. 49% gem rate and When you look at these in the last year, there have been 100 of these that have, even though it's a 2015, there have been 100 PSA 10s given by PSA in the last 12 calendar months. So 2024 into 2025, the last 1 year calendar year, there have been 100 PSA 10s. So this card is not a card that just because it's a 2015, you can't go find it and buy it and get it graded. Hockey, you got to remember, guys, hockey is not as saturated as the other sports right now. So you can really get some good deals. You can find some people that haven't really gotten into grading yet. Hockey is still a little bit behind the other sports. So plenty of money to be made buying and grading hockey. All right, next up. Let's go to Tage Thompson. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That might be, the G might have a Taj. It could be Taj. I don't know. Again, I'm not great on hockey. That's okay, but I do help you make money. 2017 Upper Deck Young Guns base card. Most recent sale was $12.65. There have been 14 sales in the last 30 days. The 30-day average is $18. So again, you can see it coming down and kind of settling in. That's a good thing. The PSA 9, $47 is the most recent sale. So if you buy it for that $12 to $15 range, you got your grading fees. You're still breaking even if you're getting $47. The 30-day average on the PSA 9 is $39.66. So there again, it's going to be real close, guys, even if it settles back in to breaking even on a PSA 9. On a PSA 10, it's $120. The 30-day average on the PSA 10 is $112. So it's staying relatively consistent, which is good. 26% gem rate. There have been 27 PSA 10s given in the last calendar year. So again, even though it's an older card, this is not a pop control thing like some people think. There are still PSA 10s out there that you can find. So go get yourself some Taj or Tage. Tagi, not sure how to pronounce that. All right, moving on. Next card up, we have, some of these Russian, Yugoslavian names. Matvey Mijkov. Young Guns, it's 2024. This is this last year's release, so the cards are really easy to come by. $66. So this is a pretty hot card. $66 is the last sale. The 30-day average is also $66. So as you can see from the last 30 days, it's transacted 317 times. So this is a card, 10 card sales per day. Very easy card to come by. Very easy card to get in that target range, right around 60, 65 bucks. A PSA 9, most recent PSA 9 was $157. The 30-day average there is also $157. So again, this card has been holding steady, fairly steady for the last 30 days. PSA 10, $490. Huge profit margins to be had here on a card that is really easy to get. 50% gem rate so far. So a 50% gem rate, you can 5x your money, and the card sells 10 times a day on eBay. This is a card that you should be targeting right now to go out and get yourself some extra dough. All right, next up is, I should have taken a class on how to pronounce some of these names. All right, next up is Matthew, I'm going to say Nyes. 2023. So this is the same year as the Connor Bedard Upper Deck Young Guns. So 2023 Upper Deck Young Guns base card, $29.95 is the most recent sale. The there have been 80 sales of this card in the last 30 days. So again, pretty easy to come by, almost 3 per day. 30-day average is $23, so it's up a little bit from its 30-day average. The PSA 9 is $55. So you want to target this card at 20. If you can get it $30 or less, that's where you want to target it, because then at a PSA 9, you're going to break even. A PSA 10, $160, and a 25% gem rate. 224 PSA 10s given in the last calendar year. So still getting quite a few PSA 10s on this card, even though it's a year old. And nice profit margins there too if you can get the PSA 10. All right, moving on. If I'm going kind of fast today, I apologize. Very excited. Got a lot of stuff to get done today. All right. Next up is 2015 Connor McDavid. This is the OPC Glossy Rookies. This is I think the only non-Young Guns card that I put in here. This is the OPC Glossy Rookies card number R1. 30 days, most recent sale, $40.56. 30-day average, $44. So pretty consistent. 5 sales in the last 30 days, so about 1 per week, which for a card from 2015 to still be transacting 1 per week, that tells you how popular Connor McDavid is. PSA 9 sells for $68. So again, get it in that $40 to $45 range, and a PSA 9 busts you even. A PSA 10, $183. So a nice return on your investment. This card has a 50% gem rate even today, 10 years later. And there have been 55 PSA 10s given in the last calendar year compared to only 45 PSA 9s. So you have a slightly better chance of getting a 10 than a 9 on this card, given the odds from the last 12 months. So even though it's a 2015, again, so many people in the hockey world have not gotten into grading their cards. It's a much smaller niche market, so you can confidently buy raw cards and do very, very well with them, getting them graded and flipping them. All right, next up, we have Lane Hudson. A nice, easy name for me, finally. Again, this past year's rookie class, 2024 Young Guns card 229, $121. So again, a very hot card coming out of the gates this year. 30-day average, $106. So up slightly, but you can see from the graph, goes up and down. It kind of varies from that. Well, throw out the $70 one. It kind of varies from about $100 to $130 pretty consistently. 214 sales in the last 30 days. So again, huge volume, easy card to find, lots of money to be made here. PSA 9, $164. The PSA 9 30-day average is $164, so holding steady. The PSA 10 is $409. The 30-day average is $484, so that is starting to come down as more and more PSA 10s hit the market. It is a pop 726 already. However, 26% gem rate, with the fact that you're making money and turning a profit on a PSA 9, there's very little risk involved here to go out and get yourself 1 or 2 of these, or a couple of 3, 4, 5 of these if you got the funds. Send them in, get them graded, and turn them into some profit. All right, next up, we have Brady Tkachuk. 2018 Upper Deck Young Guns. Most recent sale, $39.99, so $40. 30-day average is $35, so holding pretty steady. 13 sales in the last 30 days, so about 1 every other day. That makes this card, able to go out and get this card. It's not super rare, even though it's a 2018. PSA 9, $70. The 30-day average on the PSA 9 is also $70. So holding very steady on this. So go out and you can spend $40 with your grading fees, even after your fees, shipping, and your eBay fees. A PSA 9 busts you even. A PSA 10 is $138. The 30-day average is $132. So again, holding very steady. This card has a 63% gem rate. And in the last calendar year, there have been 104 PSA 10s given to only 63 PSA 9s. So almost a 2-to-1 margin, 10 to 9 at PSA the last 12 calendar months. So this card is still grading very, very well at PSA, being a 2018. So there is another one that you can go out and confidently make some money on. All right, next up should be Mitch Marner, 2016 Upper Deck Young Guns. $95 is the most recent sale. The 30-day average is $92. So you see there's a couple that dipped real low on the graph, but for the most part, this card is $90 to $100 pretty consistently. 11 sales in the last 30 days. So it is about one every third day on eBay. So pretty easy card to find again. The PSA 9 is $146. The 30-day average of the PSA 9 is $130. So even if you spend $100 with grading fees, you're going to break even again on a PSA 9. PSA 10, $290. So very nice return on your investment. This card does have a 47% gem rate, so very high gem rate. And there have been 100 PSA 10s given in the last calendar year. So again, even though it's a 2016, there have been 100 PSA 10s given in the last year. So that is a card that, again, you can feel pretty confident in, even though it's an older card, that you got a real solid shot at gemming. All right, next up, if you guys followed my Instagram, you saw that I bought one of these last night. I was talking to Joel a little bit. He was messaging me that I bought the Connor Bedard. So this is the Connor Bedard 2023 Young Guns. Very hot, popular player. His play has not nearly been anywhere near as close to the hype that he had coming in. There's some rumors that he's unhappy in Chicago and he might get traded. Not sure if any of that's going to happen, but if he's in the limelight at all, whether it's trade talk or whatever, you're going to see his cards go up in value. $127 is where his raw last sale was at. If you remember a year ago when all the hype was on this, raw was around $500. So this card's come down quite a bit. The 30-day average is $163. So it's still coming down. This card may not be at its bottom yet, but I think it's getting pretty close to its bottom. So my plan is I'm going to try and buy 5 of these. If I can buy 5, and I'll go over the numbers here in a second, but my thoughts, if I buy 5, I get 2 10s and 3 9s. After all the fees and everything is done, I'm going to double my money. So I like this play a lot. And I think that his cards could go up even higher than where they're at right now with a little bit of trade talk or anything like that going into next season. All right, I digress. 48 sales in the last 30 days, so a little better than 1 per day. This card has 2 tiny little dots on the left-hand edge of the card. If you don't see the dots, you probably are not going to get a 10. It's really easy to tell centering on this card. If you see too much of the dots, also probably not going to get a PSA 10. You got to see just a little bit of the dots right on the left-hand side of the card. There's a little trick for you when you're looking at these raw. I've had real good luck. This will be the 3rd time I've done this play. The first 2 times I averaged almost 70% PSA 10s. So I've done real well on getting PSA 10s raw off of eBay. PSA 9 sells for $191, and the 30-day average on the 9 is $200. So down slightly on the 30-day average, but if you can buy this card in that $125 to $150 range, get it graded even at the $200 that it's currently at, you're going to, at worst, break even after eBay fees. You might even make a couple of bucks on a PSA 9. You're not trying to go for the PSA 9, though. You're going for the PSA 10. This does have a 42% gem rate. $506 this card is selling for in a PSA 10. So you're going to triple your money on a PSA 10 after all the fees. 300% ROI. That is fantastic. 42% gem rate. Also pretty good. There have been 4,200 PSA 10s given in the last calendar year. So PSA is still giving a lot of PSA 10s to this card. This card does have a 7,000 pop count. So for a long-term hold, I don't know as though I would recommend this as a long-term hold because there's a lot of them in the market. If I was thinking Bedard long-term, I'd probably look at maybe one of his silvers or his outbursts. But this card here is great for flipping and making money. I love this play, and you should too because it's an easy play to make. All right, the last hockey card before we get into something a little bit different here this morning is going to be Macklin Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini is, again, this year's product, this past year's product, 2024 Young Guns card 451. $109 is the most recent sale. $132 is the 30-day average. So this card is sliding slightly as more and more cards hit the market. That's okay. 331 sales in the last 30 days. Very, very popular player, very popular card. This is a card that is easy to come by, 10 sales per day on eBay. PSA 9, $165. The 30-day average was $205. So you can see the 9 is sliding with the raw. They're all coming down a little bit. You know, it's a relatively new release, which is going to have some effect on it. And then we're going into the off season. That's going to have a little bit of effect on it too. But the ratio from raw to 9 to 10 will stay approximately the same. So you can buy this card with confidence. The PSA 10 is selling for $795. A whopping 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7x your money, 500+% ROI on a PSA 10. It has a 40.6% gem rate, and it's got 123 pop count right now, and those have all been since the product came out. So 339 sales in the last 30 days. Buy it for around 100 to 125 bucks, and a PSA 10 is going to fetch you close to $800. Save this card for last because this is probably my number one hockey play. That and Bedard are two of the players that I am going to be heavily purchasing here. My plan is that I want to have them all purchased within the next week to 10 days. I want to have them get sent in to PSA. My goal will be, because I send out a submission every week, will be 2 weeks from today. I want to have all my hockey cards going into PSA so that I can get them back. Hopefully end of July, early August would be the time frame as to what I want to do there. All right. All right. Now let's get into something a little bit unique and fun here. Hope I haven't lost anybody yet with hockey. I know it's not, hockey isn't everybody's favorite, but I figured everybody likes making money, so I'm going to give you opportunities here. All right, next up, we're going to talk about a couple of more vintage-esque. They're not really vintage because they're not old enough, but they are certainly not modern age cards. First one up is Tony Gwynn, 1983 Topps rookie card, okay? Most recent sale was $17.20. This card is what, 30 years old, 30 some years old. So why would I be recommending this play? Have I lost my mind? No, I have not. Follow the numbers and watch how this goes. 182 sales in the last 30 days. 182 sales of a 30-plus-year-old card in the last 30 days. This card still transacts a lot. Tony Gwynn is extremely popular, and his cards hold their value. So 180 sales in the last 30 days, you're talking, what, 5-6 sales a day on eBay? Very easy card to come by. Centering and condition play a huge role in this, and you can, because of the white borders, it's really easy to tell with a naked eye if the card looks relatively centered or not, and if the corners when you zoom in are sharp or not. If that's the case, you got yourself a shot at a good grade here. All right. The 30-day average is 1571. So as you can see, even though it's a 30-some-year-old card, this card transacts typically between $15 and $20 every day, multiple times a day on eBay. So this is a fun card to go out and get. We're not chasing PSA 10s here because the card is too old and the PSA 10's too hard to get. The goal here, guys, is to get a PSA 8. The PSA 8 is the most common grade of all the grades. This card has been graded by PSA 33,981 times. You heard me right. Almost 34,000 of these cards have been graded at PSA, and that's only one grading company. So very popular card, very popular player. In a PSA 8, that's where you bust even, okay? The most recent sale on a PSA 8 was $49. So you're going to break even on a PSA 8. It's a 50% chance that you're going to get a PSA 8. Half of all of the graded cards that have ever been graded at PSA of this card have gotten the PSA 8 grade. Over 16,000, or half, literally half, have gotten the 8. So the good news is that's kind of your floor, right? So if you can break even on the most common grade, there's very little risk involved to go out and go for the 9. If you get a 9, the 9 sells for $198. Now, the 30-day average of that on the 9 is actually $227. So again, this card fluctuates in the last year on a PSA 9, which is a 20% chance, by the way. You got a 1 in 5 chance. And in the last year, just to give you an idea, this card gets graded so often. In the last year, PSA still gave out 500 PSA 9s. So over 1 per day is getting added to the pop count in a PSA 9. So there are still some very nice copies raw that you can buy either at a show, from a card shop, or on eBay. I've done very well on eBay, just making sure who you're buying from and looking over the pictures real well. You can look at a 4X or a 400% return on investment on a PSA 9 of one of the most popular players, one of the best hitters of all time. So I thought this was kind of a fun play for you guys to go out and make. And I thought it was something a little bit different than what you're hearing on a lot of these other shows that are telling you the obvious. I don't want to be obvious here. We want to be fun, unique, make money, and not have to necessarily go fight everybody for the same cards. So, all right, the next up, also from the same draft class from the same year, the 1983 Topps Wade Boggs, card number 498. This card is slightly less than the Tony Gwynn. There were 3 big rookies in 93, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, Ryne Sandberg. Ryne Sandberg did not make this list because you will lose money on the most popular grade of the Ryne Sandberg cards. So I didn't put Sandberg in here because I don't want you guys losing money. I like where the floor or the base is a break even. That's what I always try and preach. If you can break even on the ones that you don't get the grades you want and make money on the ones that you do, you will always have a good chance at making money. And that is what makes this hobby fun, is collecting and making money so you can buy more of what you collect. At least that's what it is for me. I use my profits to build my personal card collection. All right, enough of that. $11.45 is the most recent sale. The 30-day average is $10.84. So you can see $8 to $15 is pretty much what this card transacts for on a daily basis. 196 sales. So again, you're talking 4 to 5 sales a day on eBay of this card. Very easy card to come by. Again, the white borders, very easy to tell centering. You just got to check your corners, and you have a legitimate shot at grading well on this card. PSA 8 on this card. The most recent PSA 8 was $39. So if you spend $10, you got grading fee of $25 with shipping. You got $35 invested in it. You sell it for $40 after eBay fees, you net $35. So you're breaking even again on a PSA 8. Again, almost 50% of all of the grades of this card have gotten PSA 8s. However, this card has been graded almost 15,000 less times than Tony Gwynn. This card has been graded 20,322 times. Still a lot of cards getting graded, but not nearly as popular as Tony Gwynn, which is why the prices are a little bit lower. A PSA 9, however, sells for almost the same as the Tony Gwynn, $190, with the 30-day average coming in at $192. So again, that has held pretty steady. The card also has a 20% chance of getting the PSA 9. 300 times in the last 12 months, PSA has graded one of these cards in a PSA 9. So this is something that is very, very achievable yet, even though the card is getting older. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying a couple of these more unique plays. Give you an opportunity to go out and search something different than what you normally do. All right. Next up, we have Cal Ripken Jr., Mr. Iron Man. This is his Topps Futures card, 1982. So there's 3 players on the card. Very popular card, but it does not sell for nearly as much as his Topps Traded card does, which also made this list, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Most recent sales, $16.95. The 30-day average was $15.45. So again, relatively speaking, pretty consistent in that $13 to $20 range. Most of the time you can get it for $15, $16, $17 for a nice clean copy. 58 sales in the last 30 days. So again, still 2 per day on eBay. So this card is out there, easy to find. And a PSA 8 sells, most recent sale was $40. The PSA 8 30-day average is $43. So again, pretty consistent. So spend $10, $12, grading fees. You got what, 35-ish dollars in it, sell it for 40, recover, break even on a PSA 8, little to no harm done. Again, 45% of the time it does get a PSA 8. It is the most common grade at PSA for this card. However, a PSA 9 sells for $140. So a nice 3x or 300% return on your investment. This card also has almost a 20% chance at getting a PSA 9. 300 times in the last calendar year has this card gotten a PSA 9. It's 300 times. So again, not impossible to do, relatively easy card to find. super liquid cards. All of these older cards are super liquid. They're super easy to sell, whether it's a PSA 7, 8, 9. The 9s go real fast. If you were lucky enough to get a 10, well, you just got yourself a lottery ticket, as these things sell for astronomical amounts in a PSA 10. I wouldn't hold my breath for that. That's why I'm telling you 8s and 9s, but hey, anything is possible, right? All right, so let's take a look at the next one that we're going to talk about. The next one is going to be as I just mentioned, Cal Ripken's Topps Traded. So this is a 1982 Topps Traded card. It came in a 100-card set. It did not come in the factory sets or in any packs. You had to buy the factory set to get the Topps Traded. You can see how much more desirable the single individual card is, as the most recent sale was $125. So you're talking 10 times more expensive, but the return is just as good. So $125 most recent sale, $134 is the 30-day average. So pretty consistent, 125 to 135 range. 10 times this card has sold in the last 30 days. So getting a little bit harder, much harder to find. Instead of 2 per day, now you're talking about 1 every 3rd day on eBay. You can also go and try and buy yourself a complete set. Oftentimes you can get the complete sets for about the same price as you can a raw card by itself. And there might be some other grading opportunities in the set there for you as well. So there's another tidbit for you, or a nice little tip. You might be able to buy a 82 Topps Traded set with a decent looking Ripken for that 125 to 150 mark. Most of them sell for around 200, but every now and then you can snag one for 125 to 150. All right. So we're targeting this card for somewhere around 125 to 140, $45. That's where they sell. A PSA 8, again, 43% of the time it comes back a PSA 8. $183 was the most recent sale. $188 is the 30-day average. So you have nothing to lose on a PSA 8. You are going to break even on a PSA 8. So again, very low floor on this card. However, very high upside on this card, as a PSA 9 sells for $445. So nice 300% return on investment. And it has a 26% gem rate. So 1 out of 4 of these cards is getting a PSA 10, which is evidenced by the fact there were 300 PSA 9s. I'm sorry, I said 10. There were 300 PSA 9s given by PSA in the last calendar year. So PSA 9 of this card is very achievable and very profitable. When you can get a 300% return on investment on a 9, that is money. All right, I have one more I'm going to talk to you about here, and then we're going to wrap this up today. The last one I wanted to talk to you about was Fernando Valenzuela. However, Fernando Valenzuela cards do not have raw data in Market Movers. So let me get rid of the screen. I'm just going to have to give you the data here. I did it myself. All right. So Fernando Valenzuela, also the traded, not the 81 where it's 3 cards, the future stars like the Cal Ripken. If you're going to do the Valenzuela, go for the Topps Traded. So 1981 Topps Traded, card number 850. It's Fernando's first card all by himself. Raw, the card sells for about $20. The most recent sale was $25. There have been 37 sales in the last 30 days. The range on these cards have been anywhere from the low sale of $5, the high sale of $76. There was somebody that posted a card that said mint to gem mint, not near mint, mint to gem mint. and somebody paid $76 in an auction for it. That seems like a risk to me, but if the card looked that great, I guess why not? Again, 37 sales in the last 30 days, so about one per day. A PSA 8 last sale was $66, and the 30-day average was $69, so pretty consistent again there. So if you can get that card in that $35 or less range, you're going to break even on a PSA 8. 40% of these get PSA 8s. PSA 9 is a 20% PSA rate, but it's a $300 most recent sale, and the 30-day average is $310. So again, you're talking about a 4 to 5x, 400 to 500% return on your money with a 20% chance of doing it. So that is another card that I really enjoy doing. And then the very last card I saved for last. Again, there's no raw data in Market Movers for me to pull this up, so I had to do hand calculated data. One of my favorite players of all time recently passed, Rickey Henderson, 1980 Topps Rickey Henderson, the greatest stolen based artist of all time. The most recent sale of a raw one was $21. However, there have been 276 sales in the last 30 days of this card. Can you believe that? 276 sales in the last 30 days. This card transacts at almost 10 per day, and the card is almost 40 years old. It's unbelievable, but that's how popular he is. And I'm thinking that rate probably went up after his passing because more and more people wanted to start collecting his cards. So what I did was I calculated all of the eBay listings that said that listed the card as near mint or better. So the top tier listing on eBay was the ones that I calculated. Of those, the average sale for near mint or better was $73. That was the average sale for a raw card that the seller listed it as near mint or better, $73. Of the 276 sales, there were 31 of them that were listed as near mint or better. So almost one per day, $73 average. A PSA 6, which sells for most recent sales, $72. The 30-day average on the PSA 6 is $75. 16% chance at a PSA 6. A PSA 7, most recent sale was $132. The 30-day average was $127, so about $130. 25% chance at a PSA 7. And then the PSA 8, $288, most recent sale. The 30-day average was $303. 30% chance of getting a PSA 8. Again, PSA 8 is the most popular grade of all of the grades at PSA for this card. And there have been 600 cards in the last calendar year that have graded a PSA 8. So if you can get a nice centered, good cornered Rickey Henderson for that $75 range, even to $75 to $100 range, and it gets the PSA 8, it's almost a 300% return on your investment. Net, you're going to net about a 225% net return because after you sell a $300 card, you're going to get about $250. You're going to have about $100 invested with grading fees. So 2.5 times your money. But there is another card that is a very popular card that is very easy to get. And you might have some fun going out and trying to grade them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a little bit different than my normal stream, talking about some cards that are a little bit more unique, a little bit less competition, cards that you can still make money on, and some cards that you can have fun on. These older cards, these early 80s cards that I mentioned in the end, I don't see those cards going anywhere but up in the next several years. They're becoming more and more popular. So I'm trying to hoard them. I buy complete sets because I collect. I've got 3 1980 Topps complete sets. I've got 5 81 Topps complete sets. I've got 7 82 Topps complete sets. I've got 9 83s. I've got 7 84s, plus 3 Don Russ sets, 2 of which are factory sealed. And then I've got 13 1985 Topps complete sets. So as you can see, I'm a collector, so I'm collecting complete sets. To me, that's very much like people that nowadays are buying sealed wax and holding the wax. Years ago, I used to buy the complete sets, and I'm holding the complete sets. I don't break my sets up and pull cards out to get them graded. If I'm going to grade a card, I buy something or pull it from my collection to grade it. I don't pull anything out of my complete sets because I don't want someday, if I pass away, my kids to sell a complete set and then the best card is missing because it's in my safe as a graded card. Might be a little weird that way, but whatever. Somebody could certainly someday pull my sets apart, do a set break, and grade the best cards, and I'm sure some of them will grade very well because they were hand collated. Some of them were hand collated, some of them are factory sets, and that is the way that I liked to collect years ago. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hey, Barry Siff joined the live stream. Barry, I haven't talked to you in a long time. Thanks for joining in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you got any questions, by all means, reach out to me on Instagram. I always respond. I'm always there to help. Any questions that you have. Happy collecting, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, guys.